provider for our own selves and our own needs and our families, but who is our real provider? That is the question and the title of our next book on the Friday Night Author Roundtable. Who is your provider, by author Robert Shipley from Christian Faith Publishing. Robert, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now tell everybody a bit about your book.
Well, from the time of Adam up until the present, man has walked in independence from God, and from this independence came the mindset, God helps those who help themselves. And in the book, I basically show how God has provided using biblical examples, and I also use examples in my own life on how he has come through. So I just wish to show the church exactly how they are walking in the continued independence from him, and I wish to show further of how they can get out of that independent mindset.
Now, what inspired you to one, write this book, and to also take your own personal experiences and draw from that to create this book? What kind of inspired all of that?
Well, it didn't happen until I was at that place to where I had to really surrender my will to him. When I had lost my job at an insurance company, I had really nowhere to go, and so I was stuck with being homeless and living out of my car. This was a fear that I had until, God took me under his wing and showed me exactly where I was standing. And from that, I left my will in his hands, and he had taken over dramatically in my own life. And from that, I started hearing his voice even more and being guided solely by him.
Now, I have to imagine, looking at a target reader, some books are geared towards this person or that type of reader. But I got to imagine this is probably a book that anybody and everybody should pick up, because we all kind of have that I can do it on my own sort of mentality. Is that kind of what you had in mind? This is really for anyone?
It's for anyone. It's basically for all of humanity. I mean, of course, the world's going to continue walking in the way they do until they come to know who Jesus is. But it's for anyone that can see where their dilemma is in God, and for fellow brothers and sisters in God, that they are continuing to walk in that independence from him until they're shown where they are currently at.
Now, how was it working with Christian Faith Publishing to be able to publish this book and get this message out there?
It has been a smooth ride. I have kept in close contact with Barbara, who had worked with me, and she had helped me every step of the way. She let me know what was going on, and it has been smooth sailing.
Now, might we see a follow-up to this down the road, or do you have other topics you'd like to write about in the future?
Well, I have another book that is ready to be published. That won't happen until 2020. But I am currently writing ideas down for a Christian romance novel that God has given me an idea for.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to that. Now this book, Who is Your Provider? When people read this, what do you hope is the most important message they gain from this book?
That they can see that they have walked independently from God, and I hope that through the book they can see what God can do in their own lives and how he can provide for them, and where their strength would be given to him and that he would take over.
Well, I think that's an excellent message, and we all need to open our eyes to the fact that we do need to be dependent on God as our provider and our support, and I think people are going to find that message and more in this. The book is called Who is Your Provider by author Robert Shipley from Christian Faith Publishing. Get your copy today, Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, online, and at the brick and mortar stores. And Robert, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you very much, Chris.
This next book